The specialists are back, and we are talking about episode number 2 of Deal or No Deal Island. And we might have a ranking on our hands here. I'm ready to crack my knuckles and dive into this because we had a pretty solid episode here. Pretty exciting. We got to know some people's names like Jamil, which is also, spoilers gone. But we might have to do a ranking of Boston Rob's challenge performances and where this one jumps in with all of his survivor, his amazing race, all of that. Because, man, Boston Rob showed that the man still has it. No matter how old he is, he's still got it going. So I'm excited to dive into this episode. I'm assuming that you're not watching this unless you've watched the episode or that you don't care to be spoiled because Jamil, I know him as well as you if you haven't watched this episode because he's already gone. And, Will, what did we know about Jamil? Other than that, he's trying to get his ex-wife back real bad.
Yeah, it seems like he was like a naughty boy, or he did something wrong.
Really tell us what he did.
He kind of sounds like he fooled around a little bit and wanted to win Deal or No Deal and have a bunch of money and then like almost buy back his ex-wife's heart.
Not even she's a gold digger.
Even I don't know. Even if he won, I don't know if she would have accepted him back.
Are you saying weird. That's not a flawless plan?
It is not. And he didn't win. I mean, the plan didn't even go according to plan. He had to win the whole show first, and he goes out second. So it seems like you're probably higher on this episode for me, just from these early this intro that you gave, that you're really excited to dive into this. I'm not that I'm not excited to talk about it. I am. I actually think, and I've said this before, sometimes when there's more things wrong with the show, there's actually more to talk about than when the show does everything right. Then you just kind of sit and praise it. Because I had a number of issues, and maybe it was just me not understanding what the show was. Like, I'm confused with how the show ends, and maybe we can talk about that. After the 90-minute premiere, I was kind of thinking, okay, each episode they're adding a case to the final game of Deal or No Deal. But they're not adding a case each time. They're adding to one case each time.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's as fun because, I mean, we can talk about, I don't know where you want to start. That to me was a little bit weird. That was not made clear last week at all. I think we were under a different kind of assumption there, Phil. And then I think the challenge I like the challenge concept a lot. I think there's a lot of good stuff here. I think that also there were parts of it that were very unclear, like how many cases of each number were there? How many dollar amounts were there? Were there just $5 amounts for 5 teams? And hey, guess what? Once the dollar amounts hit, we're going to take down because there was multiple $1.5 million targets, clearly, because Kim was shooting at one and Rob was shooting at another.
No. There was only one. Rob had to wait for Kim to miss, and then she moved over to the 500,000 and kept missing, and Rob had to wait to shoot at that. There was only one 1.5 million. There was only one of each number.
Okay, I was unclear on how that. It seemed like they were like taking turns and they were set up because there's a lot of cases left, but were there only like it seemed at the end it was either 1.5 million or loss, essentially, is what it felt like.
She had to hit 500,000 and that would have bumped somebody else down, but Kim was nowhere near anything. But yeah, no, she was with how this was set up, there was 1.5, 1,750, 1,500, 1.
How many different values were there? Were there 5?
I think there weren't there 6 teams. I think there were 6 or 7. I think there might have been 7.
So there were 5 teams. There were 5 teams. 5
there were
teams
6 teams.
Were there 6 teams?
Yeah, there's 12. There were 12 people left.
Okay, I thought we had 10. Again, that's how much I know about the cast. The cast to me, I still know nothing about the cast.
They're getting there slowly but surely. But Aaron, Kim, and Rob are the whole show.
Yeah, Aaron, Kim, and Rob again are the only. I feel like who's the red hair chick? Alyssa. We got to know her. I didn't learn her name, but we did get to know her.
The red-haired chick.
Yeah, the red-haired chick. We did get to know. I don't know where you want to start. The challenge, a couple things that I would have I don't know. To me, it was a little unclear on some parts, but
I'm just gonna. I'll throw this off right off the bat because you were like, oh, you seem like you're gonna be higher because you're excited. I'm just excited to talk about this show because I do think this is a fun show, even though it's very flawed. And it's kind of how I felt with The Traitors first season, where I was so into it early on. I was like, oh my God, this is my new obsession. I am so excited to sit there and watch the show. And then as the show started to develop, I realized, okay, there's some massive flaws. That's how I feel about Deal or No Deal Island, but I'm kind of excited that we're talking about this right off the bat because now we get to sit here and we get to point out flaws and see how they play out. That case thing is a huge, huge, huge problem. The fact that case, that there's not now a 600,000 and a 225,000, and instead it's an 825,000. Does that mean at the end of this game, the person who's playing Deal or No Deal, their highest case is going to be worth like $15 million, but then they say a number and they pick it and it's just revealed, and now they're playing a normal game of Deal or No Deal where they could walk out of there with $10? That's stupid. That's not a good move. So I think this is a big problem. And if this show does get a season 2, I think they'll change that, because I do think that's going to come back maybe to haunt them, which would not be good. But we can talk about the challenge. We can talk about the
Let's
cast.
start at the ending, because that is kind of what we're building to. I'm okay starting with talking about that. It seems like you just kind of bit on that. So let's start there with how we think this, because we didn't talk about this at all on our premiere recap, that they were adding a value to the final case. Maybe the show didn't want to make it clear. I thought they were getting a case to play, like you just said. Like, you have a $600,000 case, and now like what $223,000 case, whatever it was.
And even 225, actually.
Yeah, okay, and even 225. So good. Because I can see what that is maybe doing, where they're just building up this case, and the higher that case is going to lead to higher deals at the end. So let's say, all right, we're 2 episodes in and we're around $825,000. So we're gonna do this for another 10 episodes before a finale. 12 episodes, 13th your finale. So let's say we're getting 800 every 2 episodes, so 400 on average, times 10. Like, we're now looking at what, $4 million case. So let's say $4 million case is like the highest prize. Now they'll just lower everything off of that. But you're right, you can't have like a 1 cent case or a $10 case. So I think it's going to start with like 50,000, or like maybe even 75 or 100,000, and then it's 100,000 to 400 mil, or to 4 million, and now you're going in between those. And it might, because
if they go lower than 50,000, you are risking a 12 to 13 episode show having the worst payoff in the history of reality TV.
Yes. So I think they'll start with like the lowest case of 100. Like, you guaranteed yourself $100,000, especially because this is like an NBC show where it's airing on the network. Like, this is a primetime reality show, basically.
Yeah, you have
so you need to have, it's probably going to be 100,000, then like 120, 150, 175, 200, 225, and our whole first half is like between $100,000 and $300,000. And then the second half is when you go, all right, 300, 400, 500, 750, and we're just then there's going to be like a
couple that are $1 million or higher.
Probably. Yeah, there'll be like a 1.5 million or a 2 million, then I go straight to 4 million or something like that. Yeah. So that's probably where they're going. Definitely less interesting than what we thought it was. It could work. I'm not saying here it's a major flaw or that it can't work. It just doesn't seem as intriguing.
It just could bite them in the ass.
Well, no, the thing that biting them ass is not that the prize money would be like bad. Like, hey, you're at least getting $100,000 playing this game of Deal or No Deal. You've made it to the end of the show. Like, whatever, that's fine. It would be if, all right, open 6 cases, Phil. Oh, you open, $300,000, $20 or $150,000. Then you open your third case, and it's $4.13 million, and it's like, oh, you open that case in the first round. Now that the whole season storyline of adding to this case is over after 1 round of the person selecting to open cases. So I think that's the flaw, is that we're losing meaning in all these games. And obviously there is meaning because it leads to an elimination each week. So it's not that there's no meaning, but this idea that we're working together to add to this case kind of falls flat if that case is opened in the first 1 or 2 rounds of the game. And guess what? Those are the rounds where you're opening the most cases.
Yeah. No, and so I have a question, and I know we have a couple of listeners here. So if you want to get in the comments and let us know what you think is going to happen here, get in the live chat and let us know what you think is going to happen here. Also, like the video, subscribe to the channel, those fun things. But I'm curious what other people think about this, because you're talking about that $4.1 million. Is there a way where we see this game played as a regular game of Deal or No Deal, And if the person wins and makes a good deal, they don't make what the deal is from the banker. They make whatever was in the case that has been built up over the entire season. And if they make a bad deal, they just get the deal that they made. What do you think?
I don't know. I feel like that goes against the like whole nature of the show and why people enjoy watching Deal or No Deal. It is that moment where you press the button or you close the acrylic box. Like that's the moment that made a hit game show back in the early 2000s. That's the moment you want to recreate here with bigger prize money because you're giving out prize money once in a 13 episode season as opposed to, prize money.
Well, Alyssa got prize money today. She got 20,000.
Yeah, and we can get to the challenge. It's something else we can talk about.
Look at this. This is Patrick Stahl. I think the last person should be able to go home with nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we can make that work, but I'm with him in that the Deal or No Deal game at the end should have stakes. It should mean something for sure. But if you win, I mean, you can't go home with nothing, even in a regular game at Deal or No Deal. I mean, you can go in with $10 or 1 cent, and that's part of the joke. It's funny, but you can't do 13 episodes of primetime reality television and have your prize money be $10 or 1 cent. It's just that's not going to work. So, yeah. So I mean that's a tricky problem, and I think the team working together to add cases would be maybe a way to do it, but they just have they have too little control over that. So you could what if we've seen in the first 2 games Aaron and Kim make good deals, but make at least make the right decisions. What if they haven't? What if they've just been getting $100, $600 or something?
Yeah, does nothing get added to the case?
And then, then all the final cases are just I guess that's the same problem they would have. Right now, it'd be a $700 case. It was just $600, $100. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can always add and take away. And also the deals.
Go ahead.
The deals in this episode, I don't know. Were you paying attention? I wasn't paying attention as closely, but it felt like that 225, whatever it was, that deal was way too high. It should have, again, if you want to make the decision difficult on Kim, that deal should have been
$10,000.
It should have been less. It should have been $600 because the second highest box was $750. So if you wanted to split the two, I forget what it was. Let's just say it was $10, $100, $750, and 1.5 million.
Yeah.
Then you put it in the middle. You offer $700. It's hey, what do you think?
But I think that's where the show doesn't. I think what we've learned from the first 2 episodes is that the show is willing to treat this like real Deal or No Deal.
Right, because that would be
going to throw it in as that. Yeah.
Right. They're not playing the elimination math. They're doing it based on the numbers. Except, no, we did see one last week in the first episode. I think there was 2 cases left, and it was 40,000 and 50,000 or something. It's all right, the deal should be $45,000, and it was
$1 million. It was what, 600,000 and 400,000, and it was 445 was what the offer was.
Right. So they aren't playing strictly by the math, because at least that one's easy. When you have more numbers and then the variance, when you have $10, $100, 750, and 1.5 million, you do have to there isn't a more complicated calculation that we're not able to just do live here on the podcast. I'm sure there's a website where you can do live Deal or No Deal calculations. It's a big show. I know you can play the game online. But yeah, I don't know how you're not. There's no way you're not taking 200 and whatever it was, $25,000.
And Kim's a good character. Maybe they wanted to keep her around. You know what I'm saying?
That's also a worry here, and that's what it's starting to feel like, honestly.
I'm going to read this comment. This is from last week's episode. This is from Paul Mason 1. Regarding the bankers' offers, I have not done extensive analysis, but in the original show, the bankers' offer was something like 80% of the average of the remaining cases. This gives you a choice to reduce your risk for a reduced expected return. That was the crux of every decision. Now there's the additional factor of the 7 to 5, 50-50, et cetera, chance to be eliminated / choose who is eliminated. How is the banker factoring those 2 aspects into their offer? So if it was already that's where we're talking about last week when it was 600,000, 400,000, and then it's, all of a sudden the offer is 445 and not 500,000, even though I couldn't do math last week and Will was making fun of me. That was easy math that I could do. if that is accurate, then you do have to wonder how are they accounting for these other things. Because I even said, I was watching it today with my wife, and I even said when it went up from 123 to 225, I had said after the 123, she loses 50,000, she loses 300,000. I said, oh man, sucks to be her. This is about to drop down. And then he goes, oh, the banker's gone up. I said, wait a second.
Yeah, why did it go up? There's no reason. I'm wondering.
They keep talking about how they want risk takers, risk takers, risk takers. Are they almost rewarding Kim for not taking the first deal, even though she should have taken that first deal?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's a big question we have. And actually, that's kind of that now that I'm seeing this game play out multiple times, it's hard to watch as a viewer when you're not, the show isn't being upfront with you and how the game mechanics actually work. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't sit here, have any analysis or talk about it or have an interesting conversation. I mean, I guess we are having an interesting conversation. You're not having an interesting
conversation right now. I'm having a great
time. We are, but it's like, we're sitting here with this question of like, what are the deals based on? And we just don't know. And it's like, I mean, that 80% thing clearly wasn't the case. I don't think that was the case for the show. I mean, not to hate on the commenter, but like in the situation that we had, we have a case for $1.5 million. Like 80% of that obviously is over $1 million, because $1 million is 2/3, 66.66% of $1.5 million. So for it to be in the 80s of the total cases, it would have had to been, 1.2 or whatever. And that clearly wasn't that high. It was only 200 and whatever thousand.
What are you saying of the average?
So
you're talking like 1,500,000.
Let's say let's do it right now. So let's just say it was 1.5 million. I forget the other values, but they're so low it shouldn't throw off the average. It's like, I remember one was 750. I think one was 100 and one was 10.
Add 1,000 essentially is what you're doing.
Yeah, which is not going to change once we divide it by 4 and get the average. It's not going to really change it. So maybe maybe he's right. Okay, so that would be $375,215 would be the offer. If you're doing
times it by 0.8, it goes down to 300.
Yes, no, you're right. We do have to take the average and do times 0.8, which you just did. So I mean, that gets us closer, but clearly not exactly what we did, because we're still like $75,000 off.
So what is it? It was 200. Wait, hang on. We're going to do math here on the Specialist podcast, the math specialist right now. So if it's 225, 000 divided by 375,250, it's 60% of the average.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe we can look up this formula. Like maybe I can just Google it right now. Like, what is the deal or no?
While you do that, I'm going to throw out some comments here, because I feel like this is good stuff. The short guy says the banker won't offer nearly as much ration in the final episode, or ratio is what he meant to say, when the money is actually at hand. We also had him say Boston Rob is more interesting than $4 million, which maybe hanging out Boston Rob is part of the prize money here. And then we have some questions here from Thomas. Well, Thomas says, I am loving Aaron. He seems like such a sweet guy. I do like Aaron. He's an interesting casting choice. Thomas and Patrick Stahl both have questions, but Patrick Stahl has a comment here. I don't think that's true. Even if the top two values went off the board in that next round, she was guaranteed to have 75% odds, which is better than 66.7% odds. So maybe that is being factored into it, of like, the money had to go up because she had a 75% chance of picking a lower number, whereas prior to that, she had a 66.7% chance of picking a lower number. So maybe that's being factored into what the
But then wouldn't you lower the deal? Because don't you want to make it not? You want to make it. Also, they aren't getting the money, so it like doesn't even like the money to me. That's like why I'm annoyed about it not being its own case. And it still probably doesn't influence, but like, even if it was $1,000 and not, $225,000 or whatever it was, she'll still take the deal because she has a 75% chance to stay in the game. Like, the money's not real.
Also butchered it on the first one and didn't take the deal when he gave her an offer of 123,000 and she only had two values higher than that. I couldn't believe she didn't take that deal. I was shocked.
Yeah, I didn't know why. I thought maybe she was trying to get. I don't even know. I don't know why.
That just seems like bad gameplay on her point.
Again, the money not being real, I think, hurts. Or like, But
you're still trying to vie to stay in the game. I mean, how much do you value the chance to keep playing this game and stay on reality TV? I feel like
that I'm saying that's more important than the amount of money, and that in this final deal, it could have been $1,000 or $225,000, and it doesn't really matter for the player. Like if I have 3 cases below and 1 case above, it's the amount of money isn't really altering my decision, especially because it's not real money. If it were real money, then that would be tough. That actually,
now that we know that that the money's not going into separate cases and it's all just going into one, it's
exactly even that's what I mean. Even more so, it actually would be a more interesting game if it's like, do I want to take this deal? Like let's say you get like a deal for like $175,000 actual money, and if you take the deal, you're out of the game.
The trust, a game of greed.
No, but you're still
that
going
happened to that old chick. What was her name?
I forget, but yeah, that was like $25,000 to leave the game. But here it's like,
bye.
If you open the case, I don't know. We'd have to workshop this one, but like that to me seems there's like something there interesting. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the other stuff though, because I do think people want to hear us talk about more than just the end of this game.
Yeah. That's fair.
So let's go to Thomas McGee's here. Who is the most likely to be the villain? Is it Claudia or is it Kim? Because those are 2 people we got to know. I think Claudia seemed like she was going to be the one who was going to end up getting sent home. We also have Boston Rob building alliances. We have other people building alliances against Boston Rob. They are kind of leaning into the survivor of it all with the social game. Is it mattering to you? It does feel like it is impacting who's getting picked and who's getting sent home and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if Boston Rob and Aaron don't end up winning that challenge, then I think Boston Rob probably goes home.
Yeah.
Like, he's gone.
We have a meat shield strategy going. I mean, people are talking about they want to keep Boston Rob because they know he's an easier person to convince people to get rid of one day.
Well, that's what Rob is putting out there. And then Alyssa seems like she's totally on board with that. It doesn't seem like Aaron, I feel like, is going to take out Boston Rob at some point. That's kind of my read, because we got so many of these scenes and they were really strong. And this is, I think, was the most fun part of the episode. Just Boston Rob, like, coaching Aaron how to play these games. And it's when Kim comes up and they're talking about Kim and Aaron stops talking, Boston Rob has never stopped talking when someone comes up.
Yeah.
Rookie mistake. And then when Aaron told Alyssa that they were going to choose Kim to play Deal or No Deal, it's like, well, you don't tell her that. You don't lock it in. You come to me first.
Mm-hmm.
Like all these rules. Great TV. I think if I'm Aaron, I might be all right, Rob. Cool your jets, man. Like, I'm doing me. We'll be in alliance for a little bit, but to really make a name for myself, I got to take you out. So I kind of see Aaron at some point either choosing Boston Rob to play Deal or No Deal, or Aaron playing Deal or No Deal, winning, and then picking Rob to go home.
I think that'd be funny. Yeah.
I feel like,
and Rob being shocked, calling him. That's what he does. You're a little man.
One of those endings is where we're headed.
Yeah, I could totally see that. I'm actually, in terms of shows with relationship dynamics and stuff, the Boston Rob Aaron one is really actually cracking me up a lot, especially because we've seen Boston Rob play these games since 2002. So we really know the kind of personality he had back in Marquesas, All Stars, Heroes, Villains, how he changed in Redemption Island, what he was like in Island of the Idols, Winners at War, Amazing Race. We've really seen him over the last 22 years. And it's fun to watch him in this totally different circumstance. And he is kind of taking Aaron under his wing because he doesn't really have a choice. But then when Aaron's taking forever to climb up, come on, dude. Like, what are you doing? What's wrong with this guy? Where is this guy? I thought that stuff was really fun. I like how hard, like, Boston Rob, I mean, he might know how to play it up to the cameras. And I love how hard he's doing that. And like, I think this is a really fun dynamic. But I got to say, and I feel like it needs to be addressed, Boston Rob was always good at challenges in Survivor. He was always probably a little overrated because on Redemption Island, he just beat the shit out of everybody, but it was also like his 12th time doing puzzles. I think the best Boston Rob performance is when he couldn't eat the fish in Marquesas. That's like the funniest thing of all time. But for him to nail that last target with the bow and arrow that, like, people didn't seem like they had that much control over, What is it? What does this feel like for you? Like, can you think of a Survivor Boston Rob performance other than he put the family on his back just because Jeff does that? That was as clutch as this?
I'd have to go back. I mean, I've always known I feel like Boston Rob has shined a lot in like tribe challenges where he's always carrying the giant puzzle pieces and running back and forth, coming up like doing them so many times where he knows the best strategies on where to send people and the timing and like how you can, kind of get away with stuff to make the whole challenge more efficient. In terms of like clutching out big immunity wins, I know he's done it. But I don't have that Rolodex of information at the tip of my tongue where I'm like, oh, that Boston Rob immunity win was
Yeah.
like Redemption Island. I don't even like who rewatches that season or even like knows really what. I can't tell you much about it. Heroes vs. Villains, he goes pre-merge. Like there's no immunity challenges, individual immunity challenge for him. And then Marquesas,
He only does one.
He's barely in the post-merge. He's the first one out. And obviously he doesn't win it because he goes home. So in terms of like winning an immunity challenge, I guess All-Stars is where we'd have to look. And, we'll get there soon on Every Season Matters, our series where we go through every Survivor season. We'll get there soon. Check that out on patreon.com/the specialist. But this is big because this was an immunity challenge, basically. I mean, this was saving himself and Aaron. And if he misses this shot, another flaw I think I had with the challenge and the way it was set up was like, oh my gosh, if Kim misses this, their team loses. They're on the bottom. And it's like, wait a second. Like, wait, Rob and Aaron are then just what? Like they're safe? Like this is before they had even hit it yet.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And then eventually he makes the comment like, if Rob misses, and it was just like, okay, but like it was very unclear what it would happen in a tie. Also, like, what if these teams just miss all their arrows?
Probably have a shoot off or something.
Yeah, we probably have a shootout. And guess what? We might have had a shootout and they cut it out and edited it this way. Like that's also very, very possible.
I don't think so though. And here's my reason why I don't is because I don't think that if they were in a shootout with $0, that they would have given Boston Rob and Aaron the chance to hit the 1.5 million and be safe. I feel like that would be crazy that they missed with all of their arrows. So they technically finish with the lowest amount of money. But then because they get to keep shooting until somebody hits, Boston Rob hits the 1.5 million and now him and Aaron are safe. That seems kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do feel like they would want to keep that mechanism though of like risk versus reward. And like if you go for the smaller target, it's harder to hit. And guess what? None of the other teams went for the 1.5 million. It was still there. So that's the counter argument to that. And I'm not saying that is what happened. I'm just saying that is possible. That could have happened where it's like, all right, you guys are just gonna go 1 for 1 on arrows. What it should have been, if it was the tiebreaker, it should have been like a prorated amount, like a percentage of the arrows you retrieve. So like for every 1 arrow Boston Rob and Aaron or Boston Rob shoots, Kim gets to shoot 3 because they had,
because Alyssa got them all.
Got 10, yeah, a little more than 3 times as many as Boston Rob and Aaron. So who knows though? That's all speculation. Do you want to talk about this challenge? I think the main thing is like I know a lot of these shows, especially network shows, big prime time, they want the promos. They like people in harnesses. They like people like doing ropes course type shit. And it depends what you're doing. I think there's a couple promo shots of next week or maybe future challenges of people like dropping and flying in their harness stand. And yes, you need harnesses and safety for all that.
Boo.
For this, when you're climbing a tree to get arrows, man, like you don't need to do the whole harness in. And I think this challenge would have been way more exciting if you run in, get 1 arrow, run back, drop it off. And then how quickly are you getting arrows? And then instead of like doing this wait and shoot thing, it's like, all right, this person has 1. And it's a little bit more, there's more energy instead of doing all the phase at once where we're just seeing people kind of like bumble up a tree very slowly with very little action and very little suspense. And the reason
go ahead.
The reason they couldn't do retrieve 1 at a time, come back is it takes a while to get in your harness and have a safety rigor, make sure the carabiners are locked in and that you're good to go. You can't get in and out of a harness quickly. So when you do this, it has to be a one-time thing. Like get in, and then in some depends on the rigging and the exact harness. Some of them it's really easy for the person to get out of it themselves, and that's live. But you can't have a person getting in and out of that. So I think I think I would have rather seen some other obstacle where it was back and forth and they didn't need to be in that. That's just my take on it.
Well, and I think the other problem was Alyssa went for the top one. There really was no risk to her going and grabbing that. Like to getting the $20,000 personal offer. She was good enough at climbing it, so she did it. And she got the thing. Most of the other people who were climbing it were never going to get that high anyway. So for her to be good at it, get up there, grab that, by the time she got back with 10 arrows, there were plenty of options for her partner to shoot at. Her partner just stunk at shooting.
Yeah,
So
no, you're right.
that was a problem too.
Well,
you know what it reminds me of the Survivor challenge that they did in Co-Wrong, where
with
everybody
Joe,
with
yes.
Joe Del
And they're
Campo,
like,
he just stood there.
yeah, he's like, speed doesn't matter because everyone ran out of their things, and only when everyone shoots what they ran out of, then we would run back in and get more. Yeah, it's poor. It's a poor game design, and here I feel the same way. There was no urgency for anybody because you knew, especially if you're looking around, oh, you know, Aaron is like hasn't gotten an arrow yet, and you're Alyssa. Okay, what's the worst that can happen if I get this personal? What was it called? The personal deal, the personal offer.
It was a personal offer, is what they were calling it, but it was an automatic. She now has 20K in her pocket. Like Alyssa just got 20 grand. And it was very unceremonious. Like they didn't have a confessional of Alyssa being like, I made 20 grand. I don't really care what happens. She could walk out of there with more money than the person who wins at the end.
Yeah, we don't know. My problem was twofold, and what you're saying, that there wasn't really any risk to go get it, because again, this really wasn't a speed thing, because it was just a slow moving challenge. We had to wait in line basically once you got back. I mean, I guess people were I don't know. It was weird too. There were like 5 or 6 of the arrows, but each team didn't have one. So it was like, again, I was confused with that. And I'm someone who definitely pays attention to this stuff. I was like not quite following. And I probably, if I really wanted to like look into it and pause it, I could have easily figured this out. After a long day at work, you just want to throw on the show and watch it, and like watch it as a normal viewer would watch it. And like that part did kind of irk me. But the other part of this flag thing, we've learned it now. We've learned it now on all these shows. Who cares if you got? I just don't care if you got $20,000. I do not care. Mm-hmm. And I know we hate on Survivor for having tons of advantages and stuff. I would have rather had this been some sort of twist or advantage in the game.
Patrick Stahl says they should do this on Survivor, but instead of 20 grand, it's rice for the tribe. And that's what Survivor's always been good at. Survivor's always been good at keeping it within the realm of what is actually important on the island. And that's what these other shows struggle with. Of, oh man, they got 20K. I forgot.
I don't care. I don't care that you got 20K.
Her name was Jay from the Trust. I guess Simone was older. Thomas McGee looked it up. He said Simone was older, but it was Jay, because I just looked it up because I was like, that's not Simone. Simone went home early. Mm-hmm. It was Jay who just left. I don't care that Jay got $25,000. I couldn't even remember her name that she got.
At least it was a little bit interesting there, because she left the show for a certain amount of money and you kind of remember it. And that's kind of like how greedy, and like that's kind of the point of the Trust and those amounts of money. I think, again, the Trust kind of failed at parts where I don't think the values of money were high enough. But even here, this was like more than the first offer that was accepted on the Trust, which was only $15,000. And this was just, it happened and we forgot about it. Yeah, Survivor does have the built-in luxury when producing a show like that of the rewards and like what people will do for like everything that they're missing, like whether it be peanut butter and chocolate, whether it be love letters from home, whether it be a bag of rice for the tribe. They have all these things where rewards are so meaningful. Not being chosen to go on a reward, if Blake wins the reward challenge and chooses Phil instead of me, I go back to camp pissed. Mm-hmm. Whereas a lot of these shows where people aren't starving and being deprived, like rewards are really hard to do, because people are like, whatever, I don't care. I'll just go back to where we're going. Like, I'm going to go back to the Deal or No Deal glamping trip. Yeah. I don't care about the rewards. And if it's money, the audience doesn't really care. So I do think some sort of like personal game advantage, because that's what we're watching this for. It's a game. Something where you can swap your case if you play. I don't know. Something
where it's like a get out of jail free, where if you make a bad deal, you can still pick somebody to go home.
I don't know about that.
That's extreme, but maybe there's a way to.
Yeah, we're not going to figure it out right now, recapping this episode, but something that would have influence on the game we're watching and the story we're being told. Because at this point, we don't know Alyssa, and we just don't care that she gets $20,000.
Yeah. She has tattoos and red hair. That's what I know about her. That's what I know. And she's willing to work with Boston Rob and Aaron, even though she seems like she's playing with the others. I mean, I think she's savvy. I just think this isn't the type of game that's
Was
really
she
going to show off
savvy?
savvy gameplay.
I don't even think she was that savvy. When she was talking to Aaron, there was something about it. It felt so like insincere to me. I don't know. Felt like she was like putting on like this fake smile and like looking.
Dude, she was trying to get protected by the guy who had immunity. I get it.
I know, but it wasn't. No, but this, I feel like this was before the challenge, even before when they were like making the alliance. It just something felt off with it.
Maybe. I mean, there could have been something off. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I want to throw out a quick shout out to Ryan Chan here, who said his favorite Boston Rob moment was in Marquesas. They did the floating balancing challenge at Final 10. Boston Rob was fooling around trying to kick water to distract others and accidentally fell, and that's how he got eliminated from Survivor. So it certainly wasn't that as his clutchest performance.
No, this was huge. This was big for him because I do think he goes home.
I agree.
I mean, but then at this point, and this is again not to rip on the show as we do.
I feel like you're ripping it more than me, sir.
I am kind of ripping it, but I'm interested. I'm like talking through this. If Boston Rob doesn't get immunity, and let's say Kim hits the $500,000 case, and then it's not Kim playing. Let's say this: Rob hits the $500,000 case, so he's not going to play Deal or No Deal, but he's not immune either. He's just like a normal player. And then Kim does what she does and she misses. And they're in the bottom two. And now Kim is chosen to go play. And Rob is unsafe. Are those deals worse? Like, are those deals now trying to get her to lose the game? Like, they probably are. They probably are because they're like, shit.
Probably.
If Kim wins, she's going to eliminate Rob. We know this from interviewing her right before the game. And so now it's like these deals suck, and then it's like, oh, we know what's in your case, or the deal is so good, and then it's like $696,000. I can't. How do I turn that down? Her case
1.5.
Her case is $700,000, and she's like, damn. And you're like, whoa, wait a second.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Boston Rob is the show right now, and like my question to you is, because this has been a success for NBC thus far. Like it has had pretty good ratings. People are talking about it. People are into it.
People are listening to podcasts about it.
They are. I mean, we've had more people listening to this podcast than we had listening to the first one. I mean, in terms of live viewers, we have more on episode 2 than we did on the premiere.
What, would we go from 2 to 4? It doubles? We
went from 14 to 21. That's pretty good for live.
That was an Office reference in case no one caught it.
I wasn't listening. But But anyway, my point is, I forget what my point is, but my point is, here's my question to you, because you have this mind. Is this a show that can survive season 2 and just be all normal people, or does it need to always have a stunt casting person in there?
I think what you're seeing from shows more so now is get the people that we already know. I think that goes across the board, unless there's a particular reason to get strangers, which many shows there are plenty of good reasons to do that. Like
Big Brother, Survivor, Amazing Race. Boom,
yeah, Big Brother, Survivor, Amazing. I mean, that's part of the conceit of like Survivor is 16 strangers living on an island don't know each other. Big Brother, strangers go live in a house. I think Amazing Race, like, sure, go get strangers. But you look at a lot of other shows. You look at like Love and Hip Hop, for example. It's people involved in hip hop. If you look at a cooking show, guess what? It's all chefs. Like they're strangers, but they're at least there's a reason why we're seeing these people. These are the top chefs or whatever kind of gag they're doing for that thing. Yeah. For a show like this, it does feel like you don't need strangers. Like get some reality TV celebrities to go play Deal or No Deal. It doesn't seem like it'd be that hard. I think if they do want to go strangers, though, if you want to get people like Aaron and Claudia and Kim, then just get those people and don't have one overpowering force who's going to eat up all the screen time and prevent you from getting to know all of your new players.
But I'm asking you, do you think that this show can survive without that overpowering force? Do you think it's interesting enough, and do you think there's enough time to build up who the characters are to make you care enough if there isn't an overpowering character?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen it. I've only seen 2 episodes. You have to see how this plays out. I mean, I've liked a lot of what I've seen so far, and then I think I'm like a little bit confused on what I've seen. Also, another confusing thing. Sorry to go back to confusing things, but like going back to this challenge, it seemed like Boston Rob hitting the $1.5 million case made that the case that would be in the game of Deal or No Deal, which is a
All
cool
of the cases
mechanic.
they hit were in Deal or No Deal.
Right.
That was
And all the
whole
cases they
racetrack.
found in the mud last week were in Deal or No Deal. That through lines doesn't feel like that's hitting home. I know we had one confessional. Oh my God, the $1.5 million case. But then at the end of it, you're like, oh yeah, that's the case that's going in. And then the first game was 20 cases, and this game was only 12 cases. And
again, I think the biggest problem with the show, and I've had a good time watching it, and I think it's a fun show, and it's
I'm just trying to think through how it all works.
No,
because there's a lot of moving
this is
bits
important.
here.
I think this is important to say though, and I think I'm prefacing with positives for the show, but I'm agreeing with you here, which is the biggest problem with the show is they can play perfectly. They can get the $1.5 million case and have the $1.5 million case in the person's case who plays Deal or No Deal. They can get a $2 million case next week and have that case be in the person who plays Deal or No Deal. And they always have this, and they always have this, and this, and they always have this. They can play it absolutely perfectly. That case at the end could be worth $16 million. And then the person who plays it could pick that $16 million case first. And now they're playing a normal game of Deal or No Deal where the numbers are a penny to $750,000. And you're going, okay, who cares? They needed to do this where if they wanted to put their money where their mouth is, which is what they want, what they're acting like they're doing. Oh, it could be the biggest prize in reality TV show history or whatever. Then put your money where your mouth is and make it so that every single case that's picked it's going to be up there. Every single deal that is made is going to be up there. If they make bad deals, that's the punishment they get. If they make good deals,
Right.
that's the reward. But to do this where you could play it perfectly and get to the end and now have a $16 million case, okay, great. But like you said earlier in this podcast, now if it's the first one they flip, well, that sucks.
Yeah, no, it does. But even on like a week to week basis in the episode, like, okay, we started with 13 people and then all those cases were up there. And then we filled in, I guess, whatever, 7 cases. And then here we had 6 teams. We got 6 cases and then we filled in the other back half. So I guess it's a little bit consistent, but like, I get why you probably want the bigger, longer game for the premiere. Now we're down to an hour episode, which was shorter. And so you have 12 cases instead of 20. Get all that. I don't know. It just seems like and it needs to almost like tighten up. I want it a little cleaner, a little neater. And maybe if it weren't so like this case, that case from this challenge goes here, and then we're doing this, maybe we could get get to know the characters a little bit better. But who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Goomba's 3040 says, I don't always agree with Will, but this show deserves to be ripped. The way they eliminate people is not good, and the challenge this week was totally backwards. You have a fan, Will. You did it.
Goombas comes up quite a bit.
Yeah. He's here to support you, which is important.
Well, he starts it with, I don't always agree with Will. Why not?
I know. Because there's intelligence there, too. That's the thing. It's just, yeah, I think I'm glad we're doing this show. I really am.
I'm excited to keep watching.
Yeah,
I guess I'll say that. I'm curious where it goes. I'm not out on it. I just felt more confused this week, whereas last week, again, we had more time. We were being introduced to format. I'm like, oh, these briefcases. We're playing Deal or No Deal each week. We got Boston Rob running all over the place. We're going to get to know the cast better. The briefcases are going to iron itself out. And I just left this episode feeling more confused on how the format all works and feel like I didn't really get to know the cast all that much better. So that's kind of my overall.
I feel like Alyssa was the only one that we really got to know better this week. Aaron and Kim and Boston Rob were already stars. Claudia was already talking about whatever, being the Deal or No Deal.
Claudia, I'd throw in. We got to know Claudia a little bit better.
I feel like Alyssa was the only one. You have anything else you want to say about this, or are we good?
Let's just keep watching and see what happens.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do.
I think it's good, though.
Yeah, it's a fun show.
I think it's good that we're doing this. Yeah,
I agree. Maybe Boston Rob will see our podcast and say, man, those guys are just on the money with this show. We got to come on the podcast. So, because somebody called Boston Rob on the Boston Rob phone.
We should have Boston Rob on here, break down Deal or No Deal at some point. Do a tell-all, a Deal or No Deal tell-all.
Dude, I'm all about it. I just don't know how you get out. I don't know how you get in touch with somebody as big as Boston Rob at this point. Is Boston Rob bigger than the host of the show?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Anyway, that's it. We're done. We're going to be back tomorrow night. Will, do you have any idea what time we're doing Survivor?
Let's see what time. I mean, let's try to do it after the episode airs.
Okay. So we're going to try to do it at 10 Eastern then. That's what we're going to try to do. We'll see what happens.
Wait, is it 2 hours?
It is.
Okay.
It is.
Probably will be later than that, I imagine. But we'll try.
We're going to try. We're going to shoot for 10 Eastern. But think about becoming a patron, patreon.com/thespecialists. You should check it out. And we did 8 episodes this week for our top tier patrons, plus the power rankings game, plus the the fantasy game. So if you're a top tier patron, you had 8 episodes. Even if you were the lowest tier patron, you still ended up with 2 episodes this week. No, 2 episodes this week. It was 2 episodes this week. Plus, you get to be in our Discord, which is a fun time, and everybody chats and does all that fun stuff. So think about becoming a patron, patreon.com/thespecialist. We'll be back with Survivor tomorrow night. We'll be doing the Traders Thursday. Whole bunch of fun stuff. Traders finale, too. So that'll be good. Let us know what you think about this episode, though. Comment, like the video. Please like the video. If you've made it this far, please like the video. You clearly
definitely like the video. Come on. Yeah. Just click the little thumbs up thing.
Click the little thumbs up. That's helping us a lot. It's actually really helping us. So thumbs up. Thank you all. We'll see you next time.